Hey everybody, we're Pole DFS. I'm Ricky.
I'm Keaton.
And we're talking today about Darlington.
Yeah, excited for a new track.
New track, new day, throwback weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but we get the throwbacks.
I know, I've seen some cool cars on Twitter.
Oh yeah. As usual, we will start with some housekeeping. Our weekly show beer is, what is this?
It's Birdsong Brewing DPP Pale Ale with Pineapple.
Is that DPP or OPP?
Hard to tell. Probably OPP. That makes more sense. Its name is
Other People's
Pineapple.
I don't know what that means, but Birdsong, a Charlotte brewery that I've still never been to, actually.
I've been to their old tap room. I'm not sure I've been to their new one, but yeah, good beer.
Yep. It is actually very good. We will go over last week's recap very quickly because nothing much happened.
Yep.
As opposed to golf, if you watched our golf video, that was a lot better for the winning. And then we'll jump into Darlington, and we'll get you out of here pretty quick. There's a few things to talk about, a few things to highlight, and other than that, it's just up to you to put together some good lineups. But our results from Kansas. Nothing happened.
I basically broke even. I think I had a 70% return, which is effectively breaking even in the grand scheme of DFS.
Yeah. I said, but it was still fun or something.
It was a good race. I mean, it was a fun race.
Something.
Nice to see Kyle win 2 races on his birthday weekend was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's it. Good to see Kyle Busch finally win a race. That's what everyone really needed. Nonetheless, we are on to a new place this weekend. And we're going to go from there.
But the scoring is still the same.
The scoring is still the same. We talk about this every week, but 4 ways to score. Lap base, finish base. Lap base, laps led, fastest lap. Finish base, points based on your finish, and position differential. Just jumping into laps led. There are 293 total laps.
Checked multiple times?
I did. A 1.366 mile egg-shaped oval. That totals up to 400 miles.
All right.
If you look at the average laps led since 2019, this is a little bit deceiving because they sometimes run 400 miles, sometimes run 500 miles. But it's still, a good opportunity to look at who the people are that have a lot of laps.
It looks like true Dominator race again.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty true.
Looks like it might be a true Kyle Larson race.
Yeah, that may very much be true. When we look at it, there's definitely been multiple races. They ran it 3 times. Darlington 3 times last year with all the COVID stuff. Okay. They ran it 3 times, and multiple of the races had 100+ lap leaders. And so you definitely need to get the gunner right, and you're gonna have to probably convince anyone that's not gonna be Kyle Larson, I guess.
So was last year you said all 3 races were in the other package though, right?
Yeah, new package, 750 horsepower package, which is what they normally run at mile tracks and shorter. It's going to be interesting. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to change it up. Okay. I think maybe when you're looking at it, you may look at some of the smaller tracks that we've been to recently this year. Phoenix.
See who ran well in one 750s.
Richmond, which is still 3/4 of a mile, but definitely a little bit on the larger side. So yeah, I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on when you're thinking of it. But that being said, I still think that the people who were good at it in the 550 package are going to be very similar this week.
Yeah, we watched some laps from Darlington actually, and it's a really unique, tough looking track to run. I'm not sure I could run a lap on it, so
I'm pretty sure you couldn't.
Yeah.
That's right. I made him watch a couple of videos on the YouTube of both iRacing and real life laps. Just to get a feel for the track, how tricky it is, why it's called the track that's too tough to tame.
Yeah.
There's 2 very distinct corners. It's very hard to get your car working very well in both sides of the track for the entire race, and so I think that's only going to be exacerbated by the higher horsepower package.
Yeah.
There we go, and it's going to be definitely going to be an interesting race to watch. I think it's gonna be a fun race to watch, but obviously we'll see. As you look at fastest.
And is it Sunday?
It is Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday.
Full race this weekend. So trucks tomorrow night, which is Friday. We're shooting on Thursday. Trucks to Friday night. Cars Sunday or Xfinity Saturday. Cup Sunday, And
oh wait, isn't there something going on this weekend that only the specific drivers can race in their individual thing? Like we won't have Cup drivers in trucks and Xfinity. Isn't there something going on?
There's another Dash for Cash, I believe.
Okay.
So you have to run. You can't. Cup drivers can't run in Busch. Probably
What's Dash
the same.
for Cash?
The top 4 Xfinity regulars in the last Dash for Cash race, which is Talladega, are entered, and whoever finishes first of those 4 drivers gets $100,000.
Oh,
that's what Noah Gregson's won the first 2 this year. And so in those races, you have to be running for that series points.
Okay.
Or
below,
like
manipulating, or
yeah, basically. Okay. And so
you don't want Kyle Busch pulling over to let John Hunter Nemechek win at the end.
Probably not. And but not that he would. Anyways, if we look at last year's races, like I said, ran 3 races here. 2 right after COVID, or I don't know when COVID ended, but right.
How's that?
2 right after the COVID break. They came back and ran back-to-back weekends. And, I mean, as you see, there wasn't a huge amount of, anybody run off with the fastest lap. It did coordinate with the laps led to a degree. In the 3rd race down at the bottom, Truex led a lot of laps. He didn't end up...
it's interesting to see the fastest cars were different on back-to-back race weekends, that they tuned up the differences, and they got it. I mean, 3 different cars were in both, so that's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something interesting to look at. I mean, it's all similar teams, right? Because all, Stewart Haas, Hendrick, I mean, that's a Gibbs and a Penske, but, week to week, it's definitely interesting what cars are able to adjust and what cars aren't able to. But this week, obviously, we're coming in with no practice again, but they have ran it a few times last year with a different package. So it'll definitely be interesting to see, if the same people who ran really, really well are able to come out and continue to run well with the new package, or if, there's more of a learning curve. And as you go into the race, I mean, it's not a short race, but it is, it's 400 miles instead of 500 miles like some races. So maybe you don't have as much time to tweak it and that type of thing.
Well, that's what I was just thinking with no practice. I mean, so there's really no opportunity to try to kind of feel out your car or to, really do anything other than you get it the best you can before you show up, and that's it, right? I mean,
it's like every other week. Yeah, it's a weird world that we're living in. It doesn't seem to be as
big of a issue on some of the more, whatever. We're on the same 1.5 mile an hour oval or 1.5 mile oval
I think
that we
fair.
see every week.
It will be interesting to see if there's any huge difference between, past years where they haven't ran this exact package here before, or if they end up, equating it more to, like I was talking about earlier, about like a Phoenix or something like that, where they have ran in the past. I believe they've ran 750 at Phoenix.
So do you think they are getting on iRacing, trying to get their setup?
Well, I mean, they ran the iRacing Invitational yesterday that Eric Jones won
in 750.
Yeah. Well, no, they were running the next gen cars, so they were running the cars they're running next year.
Oh, okay.
So that was pretty interesting. But yeah, you can, I think there probably is a lot of simulator running, but I don't know. I don't know how much of a wild card that's going to be. Part of me wants to just completely disregard it and say it's probably not going to be that big of a deal because it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But there are a lot of people who would probably disagree with me and on that. So it definitely is something that you have to take into account and that we probably should at least discuss a little bit as we move forward. As usual, finishing position, you get 45 for first. You go down to 1 at 40th. And that directly correlates.
Which we only have 37 cars in the field.
37 cars in the field, yeah. So,
I saw that tweet. You said 37. There's one uncharted car.
There's one uncharted car, and it's Paris every week. Normally we have 1 or 2 others, but
yeah, it's interesting.
So only 37 cars. So obviously
next week, Ricky Parker Racing.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's still a little bit of lingering position differential potential, which we'll talk about here in a minute. We definitely had some races this year where there's been next to none.
Yeah.
I think this week there's a little bit of lingering from, probably from the Talladega race where some people started in weird spots. Plus, the end of last week's race was really weird. Kyle Larson just dominated, but then didn't end up finishing up towards the front because of that last restart. And so there's definitely a few places that we'll talk about where I think there is some position differential, but also a lot of that position differential is priced out which we'll talk about. There doesn't seem to be a ton of areas where like it's just obvious plays. There's a few.
There's no Austin Sundrick for bare men.
$6,700? No.
Or Alfredo for literally the men.
Exactly. Who almost ended up being he didn't end up being in the optimal lineup, but it was really close. And but yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. There's a few people who I think are really, really good plays or strong plays. I'm not sure they're must plays, but I think they're really, really good plays that we'll talk about. So at Darlington, you can look at the track right here. Two very distinct corners, kind of an egg shape. So you've got one corner where you can carry a lot of speed through, and then the other corner where you really have to pedal it through to be able to make it through. So
the hard part, Austin Dillon talking about it's a tough pit as well.
It's definitely a tough pit, and the hard part is that if you have green flag runs and you have to pit under green, it gets really, really difficult. And we've seen in past weeks where mistakes on pit road has really set people back, and this is definitely an area that can do that again. But being able to get your car working in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 for the entire race or as you go throughout the race is definitely the mark of whether or not you are going to be able to be competitive. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's still, even with the different package, it's important to look at the past results at this track, because it shows the people who over a 400 or 500 mile stretch are able to really hone in their cars,
or the teams that are able to do
exactly. So I think it's definitely I'm leaning more into the past performance than trying to project what the higher horsepower.
That makes sense.
I can't say it, but so 94 miles from Charlotte, so still another local one to us. It is throwback weekend, so if you turn on the TV, you will probably not know any of the cars. Well, I mean, you'll know the cars, but you won't know
the numbers
as the drivers. You'll be like,
the numbers are the same, right?
Numbers are the same,
okay.
Yes. But you'll be like, why is
that someone in a paint scheme that you totally don't recognize?
Or you do recognize it, and you're just trying to figure out why somebody that's not your old favorite driver is driving it. But one thing to keep an eye on.
What's the Darlington Strip?
Yeah, that's supposed to be Stripe. I don't know how to spell.
Gotcha. Okay.
But just act like that said Stripe. And that's the important thing to talk about is that because they're running so high to the wall, and because the way the steel bodies are, you can only hit the wall so many times, and most of them are going to hit the wall at least once or twice. And so
that is the Darlington Stripe on the car.
That is the Darlington Strip, as you would say.
The Darlington Strip
the
on
Darlington
the car.
Strip, boys and girls.
That happens after the show at Uptown Cabaret.
No, yes. Oh god. And we just went to a PG rating.
Yeah,
maybe a 13.
They asked us if this was made for children, not made for children.
Not made for children. No, the Darlington Stripe is something to keep an eye on, especially with the steel bodies. That's one thing that we'll talk about obviously as we go into next year, is that next year they have composite bodies, so it'll pop back into place a little bit better.
Okay.
It won't be made out of steel. And so, but now we still have steel bodies, so if you see somebody who really likes to ride the wall, think of somebody like
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson. I was going to say Tyler Reddick, but yes. And, if they get a little bit...
I'm learning racing. I'm feeling good about this, Ricky. That's impressive. You got to say that was...
Yeah, but if they get a little bit too close to it once or twice, it could definitely be dangerous. But, like I said, basically everyone hits the wall at least once or twice.
Fair.
So it's hard to predict who that's going to be. But it's definitely
looking at the tracks, it looked like they all ran real narrow, and it looked like the kind of the groove track that was on it was almost a one-car track, but they do run two.
No, there's definitely 2 lanes, but it's really close together.
Yeah, it looked very narrow.
They're running that top line. There's definitely, I think it's a lot harder to get through 1 and 2 with just one car, as opposed to 3 and 4, or maybe.
So will we see I mean, I know we talked about like at Talladega, quote the big one or whatever. Will we see anything like we won't? There's no expectation for something.
Probably
like
not.
Okay.
You're definitely gonna get a lot of beating and banging. You're probably gonna get, and especially because they're running the higher power package. I think it's going to be a little bit more like a short track, and that like you're going to get a little bit more beating and banging, probably a little bit more wrecks from that.
So we should expect more caution then, because I guess that's something that disrupts the gunners, right? Mm-hmm. When you run green for a long time, we tend to see the same guy, Martin Truex, whoever, run out front forever. And so when you get a lot of cautions, that's where I think you tend to lose some of the dominator points, or it gets more dispersed, right? Because different guys do better off the restarts, and we just see better more mix-up. So is this a race you expect to run more green or have more cautions?
Compared to Kansas, a lot more cautions.
Okay.
But as a whole, I mean, I think it really does fall much like the size falls in between a mile and a half and a
short track.
I think it's definitely going to fall in a very similar way. There's probably going to be more cautions than you would have at a mile and a half, such as Kansas, because Kansas had one caution last week.
Yeah, exactly.
And but I mean, even some of the other ones. But I wouldn't be banking on them just like wrecking left and right like they do.
It's not stacking the back like Talladega or some other super.
You're still going to get, there's still going to be very much a traditional race where the cream rises to the top. There's not going to be too much crazy. There may be a little bit. There's a little bit more room for some of the maybe lower funded teams or teams that run 15th to 20th can sneak into the top 10, that type of thing. Okay. But it's not as much so as like a short track. Okay. But it is a little bit more so than a mile and a half, right? And so as we look at my selection, I'm going to try to go with 3 gunners this week for the most part.
Okay.
Maybe some 2 gunners with a little bit of position differential.
Some of that more expensive position differential. Yeah.
Exactly. It's definitely interesting. We'll talk through about who I like and who I don't like as we go through. I think there's definitely some options for some gunner type potential in the low 9s that can make you get to a lot more. And I think there's some decent people, some decent drivers priced, 6,500 and below, that definitely become options to be able to make that a little bit better. It's definitely a choice, because I think you could also do a more balanced build, with maybe a 2 gunner with position differential keys for the rest of them. And I think you could definitely build lineups that way that are also very competitive. But so those would be my 2 main approaches, because the thing is that because we've had multiple races with 100 lap plus leaders at Darlington, you definitely have to get at least that 1 or 2 right. And there's with 267 laps, there's probably going to be somebody that leads 120. Yep. There's probably going to be someone that leads 75.
60,
yeah, exactly. And
then they end up winning, right? So someone wins stage 1 and stage 2, and someone closes out stage 3.
Yeah. So definitely what I want to be able to do, and we'll talk a little bit more about the gunners as we go. One thing I wanted to note first was the position differential opportunity, because there are people here who I think have a little bit more than some weeks.
But we've seen it priced up. I mean, you definitely see there's no cheap position differential choice here.
Of price up. That's exactly right. Eric Jones is interesting. We talk about him a lot. I think this is a track that he's obviously ranked really, really well here when he was with Gibbs. But that being said, I think it's a track that even with Richard Petty Motorsports in the 43, I think he could still run really well. I wouldn't expect him to finish 5th, but I think he could compete for a top 10. And, he probably needs to at least finish in the top 10, though, for that price tag. And that's why I kind of would rather have Eric Almirola right below him.
Yeah.
$400 or $200 cheaper, starting 1 position behind him. I like the potential there, because I mean, I talk about it every week. Eric Almirola is definitely a guy that can get.
He's got top 10 potential. Yeah.
And so and then further down, Kyle Larson, I think is obvious. I think he's going to be hard to bet against. I think he's going to be hard even at 11.4.
We saw him dominate earlier in your slide. I mean, he was the fastest lap
and
majority of the time.
He shows up a lot in these. And, it's interesting. He started 32nd last week and is actually $100 more this week, starting 14th.
All right, that is interesting.
So that's something. But that being said, that wouldn't deter me. And he still shows up, even in the value. I can't remember if he's in my top 5, but he's definitely in my top 10.
That's what you love to see. I said it before. Expensive value is what you love to see.
Exactly. And so, just moving down, Kurt Busch and Alex Bowman. I really like. If you liked Bowman last week, why wouldn't you like him this week? He's
starting
cheaper,
further back,
and was he started further back last week?
When he started 15th last week.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought he started 25th. Or no, he started 20th last week. So
Okay.
starting one position higher, but like $800 cheaper, something like that. A lot cheaper. I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye on, and I think he's shown that if you want to compare it to like a Richmond where he won, I mean obviously he wasn't the straight dominator. He kind of came on at the very end, but he's shown that he can run well, and I think at 9,400 he adds a little bit of position differential. If maybe if everything flows right, he also gives you some lap sled points, fastest lap points. But I also like Kurt Busch, who is substantially cheaper than Bowman, and with a higher average finish. Obviously doesn't have as much upside as some people, but I mean, starting 17th still adds a ton of value, and we'll see him again as I talked about before. But yeah, I noted not cheap. There's no one that I think is, a knockout of the ballpark type play. But I think all of these guys on this slide are definitely viable plays and are going to probably find their way in my lineup.
Almirola is the one that looks as close to a knockout play up there
he's definitely the one that I like the most.
Yeah.
And as we go through, and I definitely will have a good smattering of him. Favorites to win. Look at that Kyle Larson.
Holy cow! Vegas loves Kyle Larson this week.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Vegas loves Kyle Larson.
Yeah. And he's 11-4. I mean, yeah. I don't have a ton to say. I actually really like Denny this week because he does add a little bit of position differential, and I mean, outside of like the last 2 weeks, he's been
great.
Yeah, up
front. And Vegas likes him almost as well as Larson, not quite as well, 4.5 to 1. But
yeah. You want to say anything about Harvick? Or you can just skip over him.
I mean, he finished second last week, so I mean, yeah, that's a positive for Harvick. I feel like he's got to win a race, right? Otherwise, he's going to not qualify. That seems unlikely that we're not going to see Harvick qualify for the chase. So yeah, Harvick's going to win a race, right? He's got to.
That's what I keep saying.
But also,
yeah.
I hate Stewart Haas's cars this year. So
I don't know. But, yeah, moving on down, I don't think there's anything surprising from those last three. Truex, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski.
Keselowski's starting on the pole again. I'm probably not going to play much Keselowski on the pole again.
I feel like he adds. I mean, he did well for himself last race, right?
He ran out front for a long time.
I can't remember where exactly he finished, but he definitely, the beginning part, made it well worth it.
It was not my Byron dominator.
He talked me into Byron.
Let me tell you how Byron ran second forever.
He ran second forever. But that being said, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't play Byron again starting 5th at 8,800 because they keep pricing him too low.
Yeah.
I just don't really get it.
It's like DraftKings hasn't figured out. I think like a lot of people haven't figured out. He's actually
what's confusing to me is, I mean, and I get that like Bowman is starting 19th, so a little bit, more position differential opportunity. But like the idea that like just because Bowman has won a race this year that like he consistently gets priced higher than Byron, and Byron's won a race this year too. I know.
Why?
Like I just
yeah
because he won at Homestead. I don't really understand. But the one that I really like, and I'll talk about this about 1,000 times the rest of the year or the rest of the whatever you call this video. Let's call it a show. Is Tyler Reddick. Starting 10th, $7,400. He obviously has risk in, starting
negative
10th.
Potential, yeah.
But I think $7,400 is cheap. It's cheap. I would be surprised if he doesn't finish top 10.
I was going to say, he's sort of got to finish in the top 10 now.
Yeah, but I'd be surprised if he didn't. His average finish is 14th, but obviously that was his rookie year last year. No, same equipment. Okay. But it was his rookie last year. So, definitely could see him taking a step up. And he's running really well this year. Last week he ran well for a good part of the race. And, 40 to 1, maybe not an outright to win, but like, I don't know. I think he'll do really well, and somebody that I'm going to be playing quite a bit of. Okay. And it's probably going to burn me. It's fine. I've already accepted it. Nonetheless, if you look at the top 5, that's probably 6. I have Kyle Larson on here twice.
Actually, it's only 5.
It's only 5.
If you count Kyle Larson twice.
Kill the very top Kyle Larson. He doesn't count.
Yeah, so that's last week's Kyle Larson.
That's last week Kyle Larson. So just a comparison from last week to this week. If you look
that's
at
why we did it.
Exactly. See, you get it. No, but seriously, he's $100 more expensive this week.
Starting 18 spots.
Starting 18 spots higher. And so if you look at his, projected points based on his average finish, he's getting 10 points less. But that being said, it's still the second highest of anybody, and that's before you consider the fact that he's probably also going to lead 250 laps.
And he's probably going to win. According to Vegas, he's going to win.
No,
so
yeah, exactly.
He's going to lead 170 laps and win, according to Vegas.
But, I mean, if you look at the rest of the guys, Eric Jones is, we talked about a minute ago, different equipment, so not as necessarily as good of equipment this year. But, I mean, if he finishes 10th.
But he does this track well, and if any track has, in knowledge you need from prior runs, this is it, right?
Exactly. And then the rest of the top 5, Almirola, who we just talked about.
Love Almirola.
Who we really like that play. Kurt Busch, who I talked about, I really like that play. And then Harvick jumps out, whose average finish is 3rd here. And in 9,600, you could definitely make an argument for Harvick to be your early gunner, as you talked about last week.
I mean, last week could have gone a little different, and Harvick could have won that race, right? He finished 2nd off the restart. So, I mean, Harvick last week could have been his get-right week.
Yep.
There's no reason this isn't his get-right week.
Exactly. And then the rest of the top 10, Logano, Bowman, Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Ryan Newman.
Newman's interesting. I feel like we see Newman pop in value. Yeah, I think we see him pop in value a lot.
He's always there. You should always play him every week because he's consistent. Where's
Logano starting this week?
12th. So
I like Logano.
I actually really like him. It's as somebody, and I think he ends up being like 6. He actually might be in the value side on the next slide, as we'll see. Okay. But he definitely was in the top 10 in both points and value, and so that's definitely interesting.
And it's someone we've seen run really well this year.
And so looking at this, this is value, week, but this is value. So again, Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, the top 2 that we were just talking about. Again, I would prefer Almirola personally, based on the Eric Jones in a different car.
But I don't think playing them both in a lineup.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I don't have strong feelings against it. I fear getting 2 mid-8 guys that you're
getting a little too balanced,
getting a little bit too flat, but. Maybe if you feel really confident in somebody, some of those 9 guys. We'll talk about it in a minute. Somebody like Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott are both low 9s, and if you want to build, I'm probably going to build a few lineups with like those 2.
Then you could go to 2
8s.
And
then go to 2 8s and have a pretty
7 and a 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to go.
And and maybe they don't. Pop off, but I definitely like the potential of it, especially with Blaney starting like 16th. I definitely like it. We'll talk about it here in a minute. He doesn't pop in any of the statistical stuff because I think his average finish is around 15th.
Okay.
But that being said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You don't get very many weeks where you get somebody like Chase Elliott or someone like Ryan Blaney for that cheap, and especially with position differential opportunity. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Beyond this, the only person that was really surprising in this top 5 is Josh Bilicki for some reason.
Is he gonna finish the race?
I mean, I don't know. 21 points isn't enough, even at $5,000. It's just.
I'm gonna grab a second show.
It's just not. I wouldn't play him, but it was interesting that his value was there. I mean. If he could finish, top 30.
And that's based off his prior finish, right?
His average finish is 29th, which I think is only like 1 or 2 races. So.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's definitely there. You could definitely make an argument with a straight face.
At $5,000, you can change your roster construction quite a bit. It's like we saw with $4,500 pasta last week.
I mean, that's completely fair. I think there's probably a little bit better options. Maybe 55, but...
Is Suarez 5,500 this week? Because I'll play all day. Or LaJoy? Where's LaJoy?
LaJoy's like 57 or 58, I believe. He is in my pool.
Speaking of our staples.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my sub 6 guys are the same as last week.
LaJoy and Suarez.
But I wanted to note the potential gunners with value the 4 that I like that were in my top 10 were Larson, Harvick, Bowman, and Logano. Obviously, there's other gunners that I really like, even notwithstanding. But the people who had both value and I think could be a gunner.
Yep.
Because again, all the value stuff doesn't incorporate who the gunner is because it doesn't incorporate lap sled and that type of thing.
Harvick made your list. So will you be playing Harvick this week?
Yes.
All right.
How much I do not know, but yes.
Because I like
I've
the
also
Larson,
been playing
Bowman,
him a lot of
Logano.
weeks. Yeah, I do as well. I like all of those. And obviously I'll have to figure out exactly what that ends up looking like because I've said, I'm going to play at least 7 gunners so far, and I only make 20
Can only
lineups.
fit in,
so,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe a little bit different than that, but we'll figure it out. Gunner prediction, I don't think there's anything super surprising on this. Unless you have anybody that you would like to add.
No, I think that's fair. I do like the inclusion of Bowman down there, Hamlin, Harvick, Logano, and then Larson, who is evidently going to just win all the laps.
It's definitely going to be interesting. And we've seen it weeks where Hamlin has been, and he wasn't starting 12th, but there was a few weeks where Hamlin was starting like first or second or third, right? And it was Vegas was like he's going to win, or like they said he was going to win, and he didn't win, but he finished second, led a gazillion laps, and so like. And there was multiple weeks where I was like, I don't know, it just seems like, but like, I think that we're to a point where I think Larson's in a similar boat. I really like Hamlin though, because he's starting 7th, so he adds a little bit more, and I could 100% foresee him getting up there pretty quickly and leading all the laps.
Yep.
Logano, who we talked about, with a little bit more position differential opportunity, and then Keselowski, who, can he lead a bunch of laps early and then also stay up high enough to counteract the fact that he's starting first? Is definitely always a question. But yeah, no, I think these are the few. As we look at my actual gunner pool, I don't think there's any huge surprises in this. I
don't know that I'll be playing a lot of Kyle Busch.
I was gonna say there's probably a few people that I would stay away from generally. So Kyle Busch is interesting. He's actually been running really well, and he keeps getting priced pretty low. Last week was really bad. I probably had like 20% of them, and like I didn't realize it till after lock how bad of like a misprice he was, because he was like 8,800 or something, wasn't he? Like it's just ridiculously bad, and he ran really well. Like he didn't lead the. I mean, he led some laps, but not the amount of laps he necessarily maybe needed. But at that price tag, he was definitely there. I probably will miss him this week.
How do you feel about Blaney this week?
Like I said, I really like Blaney and Chase.
Yeah.
Blaney and Chase at 9,000 and 9,200. I'm probably gonna have a couple lineups with probably 2 or 3 lineups with them, with those two, and then some others, and then maybe a smattering of like Blaney and. Maybe Blaney Larson, because the Blaney Larson lineup like really looks like more like an average price lineup.
Yeah, you can get a really balanced lineup.
But yeah,
the other guy up here I was curious about, we haven't talked about really, is Truex.
Yeah, I mean I have him up there because I think you kind of have to have him up there. I probably won't play a ton of them.
Okay.
But I mean you can make the same argument for Truex that I just made with Hamlin.
How has he run historically at Darlington?
I think he's running well. I can't remember what his average finish is, but definitely somebody that could pull off there.
Get his 3rd win of the season.
Not. I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. Starting 4th at 10-3, that's starting to get a little expensive.
Yeah.
I'd probably rather get somebody like I would probably just rather have Kyle Busch at 9-8 if I was going to pick between
the two. Save the $500.
But yeah, I really like of these. I really like the top 3, and then really Harvick, the bottom 4. Really, top 3, bottom 4.
Okay.
And probably some variation of that is going to be most of mine. But I the reason I include them in my pool is because I think there's legitimate reasons why you could play them and be productive. Because at the end of the day, we talk about time and time again with the gunner. Like there's going to be 2 to 3 drivers that lead 80 plus laps, right? Yep. And some weeks it's easy to predict, and you just awesome. And then some weeks it's like Chris Buescher leads 80 laps, or even like the week of
Byron when he
I was
first
gonna say
did
the
it.
week of William Byron did it, and Byron's in my next slide because he's priced a little bit lower. But you could definitely make the same argument that he could be a sleeper gunner, very much like Bowman.
Yep.
That we talked about earlier. He doesn't have a position differential side.
Yeah,
but
Bowman's got to weave his way up there.
Definitely has that, and like again, I think we talked a little bit about it last week, and we talked about it before. You know, they keep pricing Chase Elliott higher than William Byron, and the results haven't indicated that should be that way. If anything, they're similar, or Byron's been performing better most of the year, and they keep putting Chase a little bit more expensive, and because he's the defending champion,
yeah, I was saying he gets the
like it
fan
makes
bump.
sense,
Yeah.
but like, you know, it's hard to make the argument that you should be playing Chase, which I think I will this week, like I said, but it's hard to make the argument that you should be playing Chase starting, what is he starting, 6th at 9,200 when you could play Byron starting 5th at 8,800.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, basically the same starting spot, $400 cheaper, and Byron honestly has been running better. Like,
Yep.
Byron has been so consistent. Yeah, he's hard not to play week in and week out. I mean, the only thing that stops me from playing him more is that he's starting in the top 5 every week because he's running so well.
But the potential negative differential.
The rest of these guys on here do add some position differential. One person interesting to me is Christopher Bell.
I was just gonna say we do not see him starting that far back.
So yeah, and we talked all about Eric Jones, and Christopher Bell's in the car that Eric Jones drove. So you know, it's definitely the opportunity to step in. It's really hard to get a Gibbs car for that cheap. I think obviously we've seen some growing pains from Christopher Bell. One week he's really, really good. One week he's, more meh. He's definitely a great driver, but definitely seeing the growing pains of the second year.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll figure it out. Everyone's a rookie to me.
Everyone's a rookie. It's fine. No, but I think he's definitely an interesting play, and definitely I could probably be talked into playing him over Eric Jones. I could
talking over Kurt Busch to me.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I like Almirola the best on this list. I think I like
agree.
Bell the second most on this list. If I'm playing Byron, I'm probably sliding him into my Dominator pool.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because kind of how I think about the Dominator pool is those are the guys that really need to either run out in front a lot of laps to pay their salary or finish high to pay their salary. And Byron starting
fifth, you have to.
He either needs to finish really high or he has to not finish too far back and dominate laps, or he has to finish really high.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I would include him probably in my Dominator pool when I'm
No, that's completely fair. And, obviously, like I said, I did a very, I just cut it at 9. So there's definitely an argument that he probably,
because of his starting
position. I was going to say also, like, look at this list of 5 cars. And one of these is not like the other, and it's the one that's starting in 5th instead of 17th or worse.
I think
so
that's exactly
he probably
right.
100% is more of like a gunner type car.
Just for roster construction purposes, I think that's how I would think of him as I'm making my builds.
100%, I agree. And then as you move up, these are my 6,500 to 7.
There's Newman again, starting 20 at 7,200. Love it. Although stepping one back, Cole Custer. 7,100 starting 24th.
Yeah, I honestly like all of these. Suarez is starting a little bit higher this week.
Yeah, I don't love Suarez.
It's a little bit scary to me. But I actually really like Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick starting 9th and 10th. I think I'm probably going to have multiple lineups with them.
Will Austin Dillon wear a suit?
He will not. We were watching a YouTube video of him iRacing with a suit on.
He looks so good.
He looks very comfortable, like a jacket.
Not a race suit, a nice dress suit.
He's probably gonna wear a race suit this time.
All right,
but I there's definitely some risk there. There's not as much position differential upside, but I like both of them, especially Reddick, but also Austin Dillon for the same reasons. They're
you need them both to run top 10.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm probably gonna have some lineups with them. And then probably dropping down to like a Newman or Custer or even Briscoe.
Briscoe, yeah, if you need the salary savings.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I included Suarez as well because, I think we include Suarez every week. We have to.
I just think he has to run probably 17th, give or take. He definitely can. He's definitely been a 15 car.
He's definitely shown that he's top 15 car, which I think makes him a viable option. He's starting 15. I probably won't have a ton of him, but I think he's definitely. I think it definitely makes sense for him to be a part of your pool.
Yeah.
Moving forward, and then literally the same 3 sub 6 guys as last week. The one that I like the most in all of this is
LaJoy
Priest.
Oh, okay.
I really like Priest here. Starting 29th, $5,900. I like LaJoy for the same reasons. Yeah, I mean, all of them. Yeah.
They're a coin flip. I mean, and honestly, and then Pasta down there, he's disappointing. He probably won't make my lineups.
Hater.
Yeah.
He's going to come around. He's a rookie. He actually is a rookie, unlike the rest of these guys.
Unlike everyone else. I don't like that Martin Truex rookie I keep talking about.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, so I think it's definitely, I think these are guys that could round out the rest of your lineup, depending on how you decide to roster, roster construct.
You may need more than one of these guys if you go for some that expensive.
I was going to say, I'll probably run into at least 1 or 2 of these guys in at least my lineups that have Larson in it, and I'm not going to not have lineups with Larson in it. I
might have Larson in all my lineups.
It's probably wouldn't be a bad idea,
20
right?
max and just lock in Larson.
Like, if you're willing for him to his team to forget to take the grate out of the radiator,
and he just goes home after 2 laps.
Box exhaust. That's what I did. So 2 weeks ago, I don't know if I talked about it very much, but at Talladega, I had 70% of my lineups had Larson in it, which again at Talladega, terrible idea, but nonetheless, and he blew his motor on the first lap. Well, I guess he made it 5 laps. He had to come in the pits on his first lap.
Yeah, love to see it.
So my verdict is retro is fun.
Whose car is your favorite? Have you seen anyone's design you like the best this week? Or anyone paying homage to anyone you like to see?
I like a bunch of them. I like the Chase Elliott Hooters one.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. I'll be sure to check that out.
The Alan Kowicki
old school Hooters scheme. Okay. I saw someone's doing something for colon cancer for someone. They're repping someone's car that died of colon cancer.
I believe you have to.
Who died of colon cancer? Okay, I don't know. He was a race car driver I recognized from back in the day.
Sure.
So, but he died of colon cancer, and someone is rocking his car
a bunch of good ones.
in honor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and the cool thing is really they're across the board different paint schemes. I really like in Xfinity, Josh Berry is running the Dell Jr. paint scheme from when he won the July 4th race at Daytona in 2001.
Is that red and white?
Yes.
Red, I've seen.
And then Justin Allgaier is running one of the Dale Earnhardt red, the Tasmanian Devils theme, which is pretty cool back in the day. Yeah, the Junior Motorsports cars look really cool. Cup, there's here and there. I think Alex Bowman. They do. I mean, I'm sure it's in conjunction with their sponsors and everybody, but Alex Bowman's driving one that's schemed after his crew chief's late model that he used to drive, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And
Bubba's doing the Space Jam themed car, right?
What?
I was making a joke at the Michael Jordan Space Jam.
Oh, got
for
you.
Bubba.
No, I think he's driving a Wendell Scott car.
Because in my mind,
I had to think about what he was driving.
Bubba 23. The conversation for like how Bubba's number was selected was Jordan's like, you can choose any number you want as long as it's 23. And Bubba's like, 23 it is. Let's do it.
He didn't want to be 45.
No, he can't. He's 23. Jordan is 23 brand. There was zero choicing.
Yeah, there was not a lot of choices. Yeah, there's definitely some fun schemes. It'll definitely be interesting race to watch. In that,
comment below with your favorite scheme below.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
I was trying to think about all the one. I was looking at some of them before. There's always some.
What's Kyle Larson running? Do you know?
He is driving his first ever race car paint scheme.
Dude,
that
can you
he used to
imagine when
drive
you're
on
big
like a
time?
sprint car. Yeah.
And we go to the retro white Ricky Parker Racing.
It's just white with red and black numbers.
Oh, fire. y'all gotta go on Ricky Parker Racing and check out his race car. It looks fantastic.
It does look very, very good.
Until he gets that Darlington strip.
Yeah. Luckily we don't have that yet. It has a real nice spot on the front end right now. But anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to comment, like below, subscribe, etc., etc. Tell us who you think's going to win. Tell us who you think has the best paint scheme. and tell us what's the third thing. You have to do everything in 3.
2 truths and a lie, then give us 1 lie.
All right, bye.